Yesterday, President Trump had a ceremony in his office making a proclamation regarding Martin Luther King. And in my opinion, he should not have had that ceremony, period. Okay? And all he is doing is giving lip service to black people in America and black people around the world. Now, I'm going to play this clip from CNN with Don Lemon. And the reason that I chose this clip was because of something that happened at the end of the proclamation signing. And it had to do with April Ryan. And I was waiting all day long to see her appear on one of the cable news shows, and I knew it wasn't going to be Fox, obviously, so it was either going to be MSNBC, but more than likely it was going to be on CNN, which is exactly where I found it. Now, I'm going to play the entire segment, and then I'm going to make some comments afterwards. Here we go.
I want to bring in now CNN political commentator David Swerdlick and CNN political analyst April Ryan. Good evening to both of you. Thanks for joining us. April, you know, you tried to get the president on the record today during that Martin Luther King ceremony. Let's take a look at it.
Mr. President, will you give an apology for the statement yesterday?
Mr. President, did you refer to African Asians? Did you refer to shapeholder?
Mr. President, are you a racist?
Mr. President, did anything happen?
Mr. President, will you respond to these serious questions about this statement, sir?
No.
Well, I'll be to the President, not you, sir. Mr. President, are you a racist?
Wow. The president ignored your question. So April, talk to me about this ceremony. It was a day after he said all of these things, and those were pretty prescient questions that needed to be answered today.
Yeah, the ceremony, it was all the pomp and circumstance for this proclamation. Vast majority African American Republican leaders who were in the room, from clergy to politics to Heritage Foundation. The new head of the Heritage Foundation, Kay Cole James, was there. You had so many different people there. But that was really the pink elephant in the room, what was said yesterday. But many of those there were in total support of the president. And he made a statement, and then Dr. Ben Carson came and read words and spoke of unity and Dr. King. And then after that, Dr. King's nephew spoke. And then the president moved from the podium, and then he sat down and signed the proclamation designating the King site, historic site, as the King Historic National Park, bringing in some of the buildings, the Masonic Temple in that area. That was the first building of the SCLC where it was founded. So, and then after that, right after that, the president started getting up to shake hands, and the reporters started asking questions, and I was one of them. And while I was asking questions, one of the supporters of the president decided to basically try to shut me down while I was asking a question, and he persisted, being very loyal to the president, I guess you would say, a black gentleman, well, African American person.
You don't want to name him?
And Daryl Scott. Daryl Scott.
Yeah.
And you can see it, it's on camera and everything.
Yeah.
And
what was he telling? What was he saying to you? Why was he trying to
ask.
shut you down? What did he say?
Because he's loyal to this president, and he did not want me asking. He said to me that it was rude later on when I was trying to leave the White House to go to lunch. He was taunting me in the driveway and saying that it was rude. And I said, no, this is my First Amendment right. And, you know, this pastor was not happy with the fact that he says that I smeared Dr. King's memory by asking this question on this day.
Well, Dr. King
but
didn't say
you have,
right? It's nothing to do with Dr. King.
and not he did not only that, not only, right, and with all of that looming from the day before, and all the other things, the the litany of issues that, you know, from Pocahontas to this, to that, to the other thing, it just kept building, to the Muslim ban, to hearing about Nigerians, to the Haitians, and, you know, recently, and then this, the S houses or S holes, whatever he said. The question was there, it was looming, and people were saying racist, and I went and asked the NAACP yesterday, what is the definition of racist? They said when racial prejudice and power meet. And it begs the question because all of this is happening, and that is the ultimate seat of power. So, you know, and not only that, from what I'm told, Daryl Scott, because I was walking into the room, he was jumping on the reporters talking about your vultures, before I walked, because I could hear him as I was walking into the room, and when I came in, it kind of stopped. But he was determined to chastise someone. So he was.
You can see it's ignorance, and it's people who don't know where they are. And
he is ignorant. He's very
ignorant. It's very ignorant.
He's
People
very,
don't. You're in the White House. The press is there.
And he's a guest, and I'm doing my job.
Thank you very much. This is your house.
Yeah.
David, go on. What did you want to say?
I was just going to say a couple things, Don. First of all, my hat's off to April. Those questions were heard loud and clear. There was no hesitation. You could hear it above all that chatter. You tried to get to the heart of the matter, April, and the president just turned his back. I do think it has something to do with Dr. King, contra the gentleman, you said it was Pastor Daryl Scott, because if anything, Dr. King, right, was about getting to the heart of things. April, you were trying to get to the heart of the matter of what we've been talking about for the last 2 days. I would just add on the note of Dr. King, since it is King weekend, that if King had been there with regard to this whole issue of immigration and where people come from, he might have said to the president and everybody there to check your Old Testament. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 19 says, love the foreigner because we were once foreigners in the land of Egypt. And all that message has been forgotten by the president and Republicans on this issue. They've gotten so far away from that.
But it's not been forgotten by the president. He doesn't go to church.
Okay, well,
it's not forgotten by the president.
Or not known, either forgotten or not known. But other Republicans have lost the thread of that from this immigration discussion. I think that, look, the president had to go through with that ceremony today, Don, I guess. But in
Did
contrast,
he have to go through with it?
Okay, well, I'm sure he thought he had to go through with it. And look, we, as you and April were saying, we saw people that we all know there in that shot, right? Our colleague Paris Denard, my friend Katrina Pearson, people were there, you know, that we've been on air with. But, you know, what was that all about when you look at the bigger picture of what was reported by my Washington Post colleague yesterday, the S-hole comments, the whole discussion about the Dreamers, and this idea that the president was so willing. It's weird, Don, not weird. Weird is too cute of a word at this point in time. It's really striking and unfortunate how the president, if you looked at that clip you played, he needs notes and teleprompters when he's trying to say something decent and constructive, but when he's saying something acid or tart or rude or offensive or racist, it rolls off the tongue. And I think that's really where we are in this discussion.
I just can't imagine looking back at that picture, if I'm in it, in history.
Well, no, look,
It's going to be, I don't know.
People are there because they want to honor Dr. King, but the small event, in contrast to the big discussion we're having, I think, is an odd mismatch.
Thank you both. I appreciate it. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Don.
I'm going to leave the link to the NBC news clip that showed the entire ceremony that was held in the White House. But showing this picture specifically for you to see all of the people that are supporting Donald Trump even after making those comments. And I can't see how, in the name of decency, that these people would be in the same room with Donald Trump, supposedly in support of Martin Luther King and declaring certain sites historical. But the people that are in the room specifically that I recognize, and if you recognize some of the other people, please feel free to add their names in a comment. But the people that I know that are in the room at this time, obviously you see Ben Carson there. You see Dr. King's nephew, Isaac Newton Ferris, who has long been at odds with the King children. You see Paris Denard on the right, next to Katrina Pearson. But the funny thing about it is there are 3 people that you don't see there. And they should have been the 3 most important people to appear at this ceremony. That would be Martin Luther King III, his sister Bernice, and his other sister Yolanda. I'm wondering why they're not there, especially when their father is being honored. It seems to me the reason they're not there is because they don't consider Donald Trump signing a proclamation after all of the actions and statements that he's made to be something that their father would have been proud of, would have appreciated. So, folks, pretty much there you have it. Now, I could have added an additional clip from the Joy Reid this morning. I'm sorry, the Joy Reid show this morning, where you had Pastor Mark Burns, of all people, come on her show and try to filibuster his way through approximately 10 minutes of questions. This man should be banned, and I truly mean this, banned from appearing anywhere on a network that claims to have anything close to what we would call decency. His appearances basically should be restricted to Fox News, because he has long been kicked to the curb by what I assume is the majority of Black America. He, along with Pastor Darrell Scott, Katrina Pearson, and even Ben Carson, who is heading up a department that he has no qualifications to run, and in fact is seeking to cut 40% of the budget for the Housing and Urban Development Department, which is going to put people on the street. Now, there's another body that, if all things had been equal, would have been there, which was Omarosa Marigold. She is not there either. And since she, quote unquote, is still employed until about the 23rd, I'm wondering where she is. But you have these 2 white guys, President Trump and Vice President Pence, who is a racist in his own regard. There's a white gentleman over in the back. There's a white lady off in the corner on the right. And pretty much that's it. But I would say to you, I would not want to give any credence to any person that you see in this room on this day as far as being for people of color, and specifically champions for the Black community. And that's pretty much all I need to say about this one.